Krishna Kirtana Kanana Tana Param.
Good morning. Hare Krishna. If you're in Eastern Canada, it's 10 a.m. It's now 10:02 a.m. Yaśodā Prabhu, it's 7:02 in California time. Yaśodā-nandana is a very early riser. I'm so proud of him. He's so committed to this process of bhakti yoga, which is critical to making advancement in spiritual life. Prabhupada was explaining, Yaśodā Prabhu, if you just chant Hare Krishna sincerely, without offense, these offenses, of course, I'm not going to read them this morning, I read them at the last talk, are very important for us to review on an ongoing basis as a group in our sadhana program. As I had mentioned to you, Prabhu, you can recall back in the 70s, we used to repeat them every morning before the japa class, just to remind ourselves that anybody who claims to be a Vaishnava must guard against these offenses. They're very revealing for those who are interested in spiritual life. And remember, Prabhupada was explaining in the recent lecture that I've been listening to ongoing for the last couple of months. And by the way, I wanted to say that no matter how many times I listen to these lectures, there's 3 of them, they're always fresh. Always ever fresh. If you can just understand one lecture properly from Srila Prabhupada, the door to emancipation opens for you by his mercy. Because Dharma Bhavana, the representative of Krishna, is Krishna himself. It's not just that Prabhupada is an ordinary person. He's empowered by Krishna to speak on behalf of Krishna. So his words are non-different than Krishna's words. They're perfect. When you're the via transparent media of Krishna, that means Krishna is speaking through you to everyone else. So that's why we're so intent, all of us, on protecting Prabhupada's legacy in his books. Because when he speaks, it's Krishna speaking through him. There is no difference between Prabhupada's preaching and the preaching that's coming directly from the Supreme Personality of Godhead. I was listening to a lecture, I keep on mentioning it, but this morning I listened to a lecture during my shower, and the whole lecture, it was a Bhagavad-gītā lecture. Prabhupada, all he did do was repeat the name of Krishna. Must have been 1,000 times. It was extraordinary. You know, Prabhupada speaks in different ways from different times and circumstances and gives us insight on the transcendental science of devotional service. And all I could think about while I was hearing the lecture was that Prabhupada, every time he spoke as a representative of Krishna, representing the words of Krishna exactly as they're properly understood by him through his instructions from his guru, Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur, and especially from Bhaktivedanta Thakur. This is an exact science, everyone. It's not something you speculate on, like we're seeing going on after Prabhupada's departure. There's so much mental speculation going on with other people. And it's really unfortunate, very unfortunate. And I think it's important for us to realize our mission is to speak up, Dharma Bhavana. We have to speak up. We cannot sit back and let this blasphemy carry on. There's a devotee in Montreal, Henry somebody. He blatantly blasphemes. He was a servant of Prabhupada's. He had sannyas order back in the 70s. He writes the most abominable comments in social media. I can't even think of them or say them. They're so disgusting. All I do is I tell him, when I blocked him completely from my social media world. But before I did, I told him, frankly, you are going to hell. Period. That's as simple as it is. Oh, who do you think you are? Okay. Well, that's what it says in the scriptures. You blaspheme the pure devotee, you're going to go to hell. Period. We're not minimizing it. There's something refreshing about the truth. Remember that. When people speak the truth, it's a cleansing process that's a wonderful experience for everyone that listens. That's why we have so many people coming to our classes, and we've had hundreds and hundreds of people come to the class over the years, over this last year and a half. They love to hear, I get hundreds of compliments. Of course, not everyone's happy, but what can you do? But at the same time, we get hundreds of compliments from people that tell us, thank you for telling us the truth. There's something great about it. So in your Namhata programs, please carry on with that. That's enough. I could speak on for hours, as you know, Yaśodā. We have a different format here, and we're planning a new program in the near future with a panel, and it'll be a podcast, and we're going to talk about all the wonderful issues concerning the Guru Tattva in that panel, and no holds barred. No holds barred, just straight out truth, because these pastimes are all the same. Whether you're talking about Lord Chaitanya's pastimes or you're talking about Prabhupada's pastimes and spreading the movement all over the world, it's all one big pastime. And we're blessed to be part of it, Vijay Pandit. We're very blessed to be part of this. We can all be excited about it. And now we're going to keep going. We're reading the beginning, the early days of Srila Prabhupada's hard work on his own, with no support from the Gaudiya God brothers that he had, no support from anyone. He simply just tried his hardest to serve his spiritual master. And as we know, he was very successful. So we'll go to Wednesday, January 19th, 1966. So I read the summary yesterday, and we'll start to see Prabhupada's handwriting and then how nicely he's organized here. So we can just follow along and get the idea how you want to pattern your life every day in the same way that Prabhupada does. By the grace of Sri Guru and Gauranga, an encouraged letter is received today from Sir Padampat Singhayana of Kanpur, India. A temple is hopeful. So he's requesting help. So he's saying it's hopeful. Nothing happened, of course, but he tried. He's trying. To see the publication sale office, U.S. Government Office of Education, 110 Livingston Street, Borough House Station, phone number 596-3106. Seeing Mr. L. Malhotra at the New India House, submitted Chandrasekhar's case for transfer of his office in New York. He said to consider. So these are notes that he's not elaborating, but he's giving us insight that he's thinking about this and that. 2 sets of books taken back from Paragon Book Gallery. This makes altogether 7 sets taken back, balanced with them 18 sets of gold, solid gold. 1. Sri Padma Pat Singhayani was a wealthy industrialist living in Kanpur, India. 2. Mr. L. Malhotra was an official at the Indian consulate. And 3, Paragon Book Gallery specialized in books on Eastern religion and culture. Srila Prabhupada stored his books there. So he's very smart. He needed storage. Everybody needs storage. Okay, and then January 22nd, I think I've got it to the right side there, hopefully. Yes, there you are. Thank you. Thank you very much. New York. Bon Maharaj's letter replied, and he is requested to see Dr. Radhakrishnan for sanction of exchange. So Prabhupada's planning to try to get money for building a temple. Now everything depends on the supreme will of the Lord Sri Krishna. Sri Padman Pat Singhayani replied, Chandrasekhar replied and asked to send 1 set of Bhagavatams to Sri Padam Pat Singhayani. 4. These are the subnotes. Bon Maharaj was one of Srila Prabhupada's godbrothers and the rector of the Institute of Oriental Philosophy in Vrindavan, India. I used to see that, Yasoda, when we were on Raman Reti. Remember, it was on the right side there. In some kind of building back there. Krishna Balaram Mandir still wasn't built. And then I got a chance to meet him in 1974 with Professor Joseph O'Connell in Toronto when he came. Another pastime we'll discuss later. Dr. Radhakrishna was the president of India, and Srila Prabhupada had met him previously. Excuse me. JK Organization, Kamala Tower, Kanpur, India, 14th of January, 1966. So Prabhupada sent him a letter, and now here's the response. My dear Swamiji, your letter without date is to the hand. I've gone through your letter. I'm very glad to note your idea of erecting a Sri Radhakrishna temple in New York. I think the proposal is a good one, but the following are the difficulties. 1, you've got to send foreign exchange for building the temple for which government sanction is required. Without the government sanction, no money can be sent abroad. If the government of India agrees, then one can think of erecting the temple in New York. 2, I doubt whether this small amount of rupee 7 lakhs a temple can be built in New York. 7 lakhs. I mean to carry out a nice construction with Indian type of architecture. To get the temple completed in Indian type of architecture, we have to send a man from India. These are the 2 main difficulties. Otherwise, your idea is very good. Yours sincerely, whoever it is. To Sri A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami, 100 West 72nd Street, Studio 501, New York, New York, 10023 USA. J. Kayoris telephone, that's who it is. So we can see that Prabhupada's reaching out, really big ideas for spreading Krishna consciousness without any fear. All glories to Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, everyone. We're going to move forward with the chanting of Jaya Radha Madhava, the bhajan led by Srila Prabhupada. I don't know where it's going to be from today. It could be in New York when I was there. I always loved that one. Standing there in the hallway watching. And then we'll have the class by on the Bhagavad-gītā As It Is, unedited version of the Bhagavad-gītā with His Grace Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu from Twain Harte, freezing cold California. Oh, there it is. Perfect. New York City.
Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Gopi Jana Vallabha Girivaradhari Yasodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Yasodā-nandana Brajajana Ranjana Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jamuna Tira Vanachari Jaya Radha Madhava Kunja Bihari Jaya Pushpat Paravangja Paribhrajagacharya Sattva Sadasyamal Bhakti Siddhanta Saraswati Goswami Prabhupada ki jai. Ananta Koti Vaishnavindi ki jai. Ramacharya Srila Haridas Thakur ki jai. Prem se kaho Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Sri Advaita Gadadhar Shivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda ki jai. Sri Sri Radha Krishna Go Gopinath Sam Kund Radha Kund Girigavardhan ki jai. Vrindavan Dham ki jai. Navadvip Dham ki jai. गंगा माई की जय, जमुना माई की जय, तुलसी देवी की जय, भक्ति देवी की जय, स्वामी भक्तविंद की जय. All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. All glories to the Assembled Lord. Thank you very much.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. O my Lord Sri Krishna, the Son of Vasudeva, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, I offer my respectful obeisances unto you from Srimad Bhagavatam 1:1:1. Narayanam namaskritya naram cheva narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Jayam Mudirayet. One should utter the means of conquest, Srimad Bhagavatam or Bhagavad-gītā, after offering respectful obeisances, 1, to the personality of Godhead Narayana, 2, to the Nara Narayana Rishi, who is the supermost human being, 3, to the Mother Saraswati, the goddess of learning, then 4, to Srila Vyasadeva, the author, from Srimad Bhagavatam 1-4. Welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. This presentation is based upon the original 1972 Macmillan edition, the unrevised, non-adulterated version. And as Srila Prabhupada often did during these presentations, oh, Vijay Pandit, looks like you have got an assistant there. Who is that?
It's my nephew.
Oh, very nice. Hare Krishna. As Srila Prabhupada used to often recite various prayers in the introduction to the Bhagavad-gītā, we will do the same. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurun Militam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. I was born in the darkest ignorance, and my spiritual master opened my eyes with the torch of knowledge. I offer my respectful obeisances unto him. Sri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam. When will Srila Rupa Goswami Prabhupada, who has established within this material world the mission to fulfill the desire of Lord Chaitanya, give me shelter under his lotus feet? Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahaguna Raghunatan Anvitam Tam Sajivam. Sadvaitam Savadhutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahaguna Lalita Shri Vishakanvitamscha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master and unto the feet of all Vaishnavas. I offer my respectful obeisances unto the lotus feet of Srila Rupa Goswami, along with his elder brother Sanatan Goswami, as well as Raghunath Dasa and Raghunath Bhatta, Gopala Bhatta, and Srila Jiva Goswami. I offer my respectful obeisances to Lord Krishna Chaitanya and Lord Nityananda, along with Advaita-Ācārya, Gadadhar, Srivas, and other associates. I offer my respectful obeisances to Srimati Radharani and Sri Krishna, along with their associates Sri Lalita and Vishaka. E Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute. O my dear Krishna, you are the friend of the distressed and the source of creation. You are the master of the gopis and the lover of Radharani. I offer my respectful obeisances unto you. Tapta Kanchana Gorangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Haripriye. I offer my respects to Radharani, whose bodily complexion is like molten gold, and who is the queen of Vrindavana. You are the daughter of King Vrishabhanu, and you are very dear to Lord Krishna. Vancha kalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindhubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. I offer my respectful obeisances unto all the Vaishnava devotees of the Lord, who can fulfill the desires of everyone, just like desire trees, and who are full of compassion for the fallen souls. Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shri Vasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrindam Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Again, welcome everyone to this reading and discussion on Srimad Bhagavad-gītā. Today we will be reading from chapter 10, text number 20. That's on page number 518 in the original Macmillan edition. I will repeat one line of Sanskrit, and you can repeat it at home or wherever you are. Ahamatma Gudakesha Sarvabhuta Shayastitaha Ahamadishcha Madhyam Cha Bhutanam Manta Evacha Aham. I, Atma, soul, Gudakesha, O Arjuna, Sarvabhuta, all living entities, Ashayastitaha, situated within, Aham, I am, Adihi, origin, Cha, also, Madhyam, middle, Cha, also, Bhutanam, all living entities, Antaha, end, Eva, certainly, Cha, end. I am the Self, O good Akesha, seated in the hearts of all creatures. I am the beginning, the middle, and the end of all beings. Purport by Srila Prabhupada. In this verse, Arjuna is addressed as good Akesha, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand how the Supreme Godhead manifests himself in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this address by Krishna to Arjuna is significant. Because Arjuna is above such darkness, the personality of Godhead agrees to describe his various opulences. Krishna first informs Arjuna that he is the self or soul of the entire cosmic manifestation by dint of his primary expansion. Before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnations, and from him everything begins. Therefore, he is Atma, the soul of the Mahatattva, the universal elements. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation, but actually the Mahavishnu enters into the Mahatattva, the total material energy. He is the soul. When Mahavishnu enters into the manifested universes, he again manifests himself as the Supersoul in each and every entity. We have experienced that the personal body of the living entity exists due to the presence of the spiritual spark. Without the existence of the spiritual spark, the body cannot develop. Similarly, the material manifestation cannot develop unless the Supreme Soul of Krishna enters. The Supreme Personality of Godhead is existing as the Supersoul in all manifested universes. A description of the three Purusha avatars is given in Srimad Bhagavatam. The Supreme Personality of Godhead manifests in three features, as Karano Dakshaya Vishnu, Garbho Dakshaya Vishnu, and Kshiro Dakshaya Vishnu in this material manifestation. The Supreme Lord Krishna, the cause of all causes, lies down in the cosmic ocean as Mahavishnu or Karano Dakshaya Vishnu. And therefore Krishna is the beginning of this universe, the maintainer of the universal manifestation, and the end of all the energy. Om Ajnana-timirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshuranmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Nama Om Vishnu Padaya Krishna Prestaya Bhutale Srimate Bhaktivedanta Swami Namine. Namaste Saraswate Deve Gauravani Pracharine Nirvishesha Shunyavadi Paschatya Deshatarine Bhakti Siddhanta Shishyaya Bhaktivedanta Namine Prasannaya Prashantaya Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Bhagavad-vandanam Khadyam Guru Vandana Purvakam Kshiram Sharkara Yuktam Kadatihi Visheshataham Adadanastrinam Danter Idam Yachi Punaha Punaha Srimadrupa Padam Bhoja Dhulishyam Janma Janmani Amsho Bhagavatusmyaham Sadadasu asmi sarvata tat kripa pikshako nityam tat prishta shat karumishvam Sri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. So here Lord Krishna is describing very important characteristics of his personality and his opulences. It is not so easy to understand Krishna in truth. We see that there are many philosophers, many speculators, many persons who are trying to find the truth. And many of them will also read Bhagavad-gītā, but will not come to the proper conclusion, to the correct conclusion of the teachings of Bhagavad-gītā. Now, why is Lord Krishna describing these truths to Arjuna? Well, first of all, Arjuna is a devotee, and he surrendered to Krishna. He is very qualified. So Lord Krishna is explaining to Arjuna what are the facts and the truth about this cosmic manifestation. Prabhupada explains, before the material creation, the Supreme Lord, by his plenary expansion, accepts the Purusha incarnations, and from him everything begins. Therefore, he is Atma, the soul of the Mahatattva, the universal elements. The total material energy is not the cause of the creation, but actually the Mahavishnu enters into the Mahatattva, the total material energy. It's interesting to note that earlier in the Bhagavad-gītā, in chapter 7, text number 4, chapter 7, text number 4, Srila Prabhupada expands on this point about the three different kinds of Vishnu. Prabhupada says material nature is called Prakriti, or the energy of the Lord in his different Purusha incarnations, expansions, as described in the Sattvata Tantra. Vishnostu trini rupani Purushakyanyatu viduhu ekantu mahataha srastrir dvitiyam tvandasam stitam Tritiyam sarvabhutastam tani gyatva vimuchyati. For material creation, Lord Krishna's plenary expansion assumes three Vishnus. The first one, Mahavishnu, creates the total material energy, known as Mahatattva. The second, Garbhodakshayi Vishnu, enters into all the universes to create diversities in each of them. The third, Kshirodakshayi Vishnu, is diffused as the all-pervading Supersoul in all the universes and is known as Paramatma, who is present even within the atoms. Anyone who knows these three Vishnus can be liberated from material entanglement. So this point is very important. How to understand this material creation? On one hand, the Bhagavad-gītā describes that Krishna is the source of all creation. But how does this all take place? By the agency of the Purusha avatars, or his expansion. This is very nicely described in the Bhagavad-gītā, for example, in that chapter 7, text number 4, as well as this particular purport here. This is very, very important. We see in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, in the first chapter of the Adi Lila, how Krishna Das Kaviraj Goswami has also described the three Purusha avatars as being expansions of Lord Nityananda, of Lord Balaram. So this is a further detailed explanation of how the material creation is manifested. We've often discussed the point that nothing happens by chance. It is a convenient atheistic argument of the Nastikas, the non-believers, to claim that everything happens by chance, by some sort of Big Bang, some sort of primordial soup. But Prabhupada used to push the argument further. Well, who created the Big Bangs? Who created the original ingredients? That they cannot explain. But Bhagavad-gītā has clear explanation. But some may say, well, we can't verify, we can't experiment about these three Vishnus. No, you can't. Because this is a different system of knowledge. This is not experimental knowledge. This is not speculative knowledge. This is knowledge that comes down by disciplic succession. It's called, in Sanskrit, it's called amnaya, parampara knowledge. By the great liberated souls who have passed down this knowledge from time immemorial, as it has been received by Lord Krishna to Lord Brahma, the first creator, engineer of this universe, who has given the knowledge to his son Narada, who has transmitted knowledge to his disciple Vyasa, who translated the knowledge to his son Shukadeva Goswami and to Madhvacharya. And in this way, the transcendental knowledge, the Bhagavata, Vijnana, the science of understanding the personality of Godhead, the position of the living entities, the different incarnations of Godhead, everything is given in Bhagavad-gītā and related literatures like the Srimad Bhagavatam, Puranas, Upanishads, everything is given there. This is very important. Last night we had a discussion with a few devotees in Tokyo, Japan. Very interesting discussion, and different persons were bringing up various points. As part of these discussions, we were mentioning how Srila Prabhupada, from beginning to end, from 1965, when he first came in Boston in September, till November of 1977, was constantly preaching one basic fundamental theme, that you are not this body. You are an eternal spirit soul. You are meant to engage in the service of Krishna. Jiva Swarup Nitya Krishna Das. It's very simple. In the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Srila Krishnadas Kaviraj Goswami very nicely summarizes the position of Krishna in the living entity in a very brief Sanskrit text. It says, Ekal Ishwar Krishna Ar Sabritya. 6 words. 6 words. One doesn't have to study all the Upanishads, all the Vedanta, just 6 words. Ekal Ishwar Krishna, that Krishna is the only master, and all other are sabritya. Britya means servants. All the other living entities are his servants. Very simple, not complicated, but because we are so conditioned in this material world to think in terms of ourselves, the material body, our so-called material possessions, family, friends, country, this, that, we are bewildered. We forget. That is the meaning of conditioned soul, the influence of Maya, illusion. So in order to remove that illusion, that's why Lord Krishna is mercifully giving these teachings of Bhagavad-gītā. There are so many detailed instructions in the Bhagavad-gītā how to understand that we're not the body, how the body changes at the time of death, why there are so many different living entities, what is the position of the soul, what is the size of the soul, what is the location of the soul, how can one become a liberated soul, and how one can escape material conditioning. And also, very important, why do we see so many different conditions of life even in human society. It is a very pious belief to declare that everyone is equal. Well, yes, spiritually, everybody is equal. Everybody is a spirit soul. But materially, not everyone is equal. Why isn't everyone born with the same facilities? Why is everybody not born with the same degree of intelligence? Why is everybody not born with the same degree of beauty? Krishna explains nicely in the Bhagavad-gītā, Karanam guna sangasya. The cause of this is association with the modes of nature. And what this does, sadasat yoni janmasu. Then one get an auspicious or inauspicious situation because of association with the modes of nature, the mode of goodness, the mode of passion, and the mode of ignorance. That's why there is an entire chapter in the Bhagavad-gītā devoted to understanding what are the modes of nature in the matter of different kinds of faiths, different kinds of charity, especially different kinds of food, all different kinds of behaviors, different kinds of speech. Everything is clearly described there. If one is intelligent and wants to escape the suffering of this material world, at least the first step is to rise above the mode of passion and ignorance, the constant hankering and lamentation. Brahma bhutas prasanatma nasochati nakankshati. Constantly hankering and constantly lamenting. When we study the various news cycles in the material world, there is constant lamentation for things that are lost, for unpleasant circumstances, and there is constant hankering. We all know how this modern civilization is very expert at presenting a constant stream of alluring propositions. If you get this kind of food, this kind of car, this kind of dress, this kind of makeup, this kind of house, oh, this will make you so happy. So you have to endeavor to get these temporary things, but it doesn't make people happy because that is the nature of the material world. Dukkhalayam ashashvatam. What is that? The nature of this temporary material world is that there is too much suffering and it is non-permanent. But everybody is looking for permanent. What is an ant, a dog, a bear, or a human being? Nobody wants to die. Everybody is trying to prevent that. In America, all over the world, not just America, there is a big business trying to cure people. The medical industry, the pharmaceutical industry, all trying to cure people, trying to prevent disease, trying to prevent suffering. But despite all these modern scientific advancements, there's still suffering. There's still problems. No one has ever solved the problem of birth, death, old age, and disease. But there is a solution. Bhagavad-gītā gives the solution. But people in the age of Kali Yuga are so less intelligent. We see in the Bhagavatam, there is description of the condition of people in this age, alpayusha, prayena alpayusha. Most of the time they have a short duration of life. Mandabhagya, not very intelligent, not very spiritually enlightened. This is the condition of most people in Kali Yuga. So one has to use his intelligence to hear from liberated souls. For those who are not conditioned by the influence of the material energy, specifically the mode of passion and the mode of ignorance. And then one can gradually elevate himself. This is a very important point. Last night we were discussing one point, how Srila Prabhupada in Australia, on May 9th, 1975, on a morning walk, that's May 9th, 1975 in Perth, Australia, one devotee asked Srila Prabhupada, when people in the street hear Krishna's name, the chanting, or they get some literature, does that mean they will not take birth as an animal? Prabhupada, no, they'll get birth in a good family. Suchinam srimatam gete, Bhagavad-gītā 6:41. If they simply appreciate it is very nice, then in the next life, human life is guaranteed. In a very nice family, simply if he appreciates, yes, it is very nice, that's all. Then he'll get another chance. Devotee, many people think the pictures are very nice. Srila Prabhupada, anything they say nice, that means it is guaranteed next life. Or even in this life, it will definitely help. As soon as he reads some pages, then it is guaranteed. Those who are inquiring, that means they are liking. Their life is guaranteed. Devotee, one man who joined us about Rath Yatra time last year was a solicitor. And he used to buy our books, but he never read them. But he would keep them on his bookshelf. And he used to always think, those are such beautiful books. He used to think like that. Prabhupada, this is appreciation. Devotee, but he never got time to read it. Prabhupada, it doesn't matter. But if he keeps that book with appreciation, that makes his life insured. He immediately becomes in touch with God. Who keeps the book with reverence and love, immediately he becomes in touch with God. Because these books are representative of God. So this is a very important point. Some people have accused Vishwakarma and myself and the various devotees who are participating in this program of being sentimentalists or sometimes fundamentalists. Oh, you're Prabhupada fanatics. You don't understand the parampara or the living principle. Oh, we do understand. The point is, what is the parampara? Why do you approach a guru? Because he's physically living? Is that your idea? Just because he's breathing? That is not a very sound proposition. Prabhupada always preached that Vani, or the instruction or the teachings of the spiritual master, are more important than Vapu, the physical presence. But they want to turn it around that their Vapu, their physical presence, is now more important than Prabhupada's Vani. We do not accept this proposition. Why? Because Prabhupada did not accept that. Very simple. You know, I've quoted that many times in some of these discussions. When they asked Srila Prabhupada in Berkeley, California in 1975 in July, what will happen to the movement when you die? He didn't give a Vapu or a bodily philosophy. His immediate reaction is, I shall never die. I shall live from my books and you will utilize. Now, let's think about this for a moment. Prabhupada could have given so many different answers, but he was very specific, emphasizing his teachings, his Vani, his books. In 1969, on the 13th of January 1969 in Los Angeles, California, during a Srimad Bhagavatam class, Prabhupada touched upon the same point. He described what we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living. Because they're always talking about living, physicality. Well, Prabhupada says that here we go. So although a physical body is not present, the vibration should be accepted as the presence of the spiritual master vibration. Thank you very much, Venkat Bhattu Prabhu. This is very important. What we have heard from the spiritual master, that is living. You'll see in these pictures, this movement was started by Bhaktivedanta Thakur, and then it was entrusted to Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur. Then we are trying to serve his word, and many of my godbrothers there also. So the point is that we have to understand the essence of Prabhupada's teachings. not to promote our physicality over and above Prabhupada. And this is what this Prabhupada Disciples Association and Hare Krishna Society is all about. One devotee from Germany recently brought up a quote that Prabhupada said that, "Do not focus so much on my letters, but focus on my books." It is definitely a fact that Prabhupada wanted people to focus on reading and studying his books. But Prabhupada also gave many society-wide instructions and mandates to his disciples, sometimes via letters that were written to temple president, letters that were issued directly by himself or by his personal secretaries. So one has to look at everything from the proper angle of vision. Very important point. We discussed last night with some of these devotees. There were some devotees from Mongolia and also Japan, that Prabhupada one time was asked, how did Ravi Shankar become so expert in playing the sitar? It's quite amazing because sitar mastery is very difficult to obtain, to master. And Prabhupada's reply was, now I haven't seen this anywhere, but I've heard this from good sources, that Prabhupada said because he had been playing the sitar for 7 lifetimes. So we do not know in this life what another person who has come to this movement was doing in the past life. We see in the Nectar of Devotion how Prabhupada says that usually one takes the devotional service in this life because he has done it in the past life. It is a continuation from past life. So one has to be very intelligent and very careful to pursue as much spiritual advancement as one can do. One time there was a discussion where Prabhupada says, try to get out in this life because next life you don't know. You may have very high taxes and very difficult situation. You never know. Although one may be born in a good family or a pious family or a Brahmin family or a rich man's family, in Kali Yuga there are so many obstacles, so many difficulties. Nowadays we see, not just outside, but even inside the movement, so many sahajiyas and karmis in the dress of devotees propagating all kinds of nonsense falsehoods and all kinds of false ideologies. So one has to try to make it in this lifetime. Take shelter at the lotus feet of Srila Prabhupada, his original teachings, his original instructions, and go back home, back to Godhead. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Excellent. Thank you so much for that wonderful explanation of our philosophy from today's verse of the Bhagavad-gītā. And I wanted to refer again back, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, to the verse, just briefly to the purport that Krishna is telling Arjuna that he's seated in the heart of all creatures, that he is beginning, middle, and end of all beings. So Prabhupada, in this purport, he says in this verse, Arjuna is addressed as Gudikesha, which means one who has conquered the darkness of sleep. For those who are sleeping in the darkness of ignorance, it is not possible to understand the Supreme Godhead. Him manifests himself in the material, how the Supreme Godhead manifests himself in the material and spiritual worlds. Thus, this addressed by Krishna to Arjuna is significant. So Prabhupada is telling us that we're born into a state of illusion, of confusion. It's like being bitten by the snake of Maya. And you put you in a coma where you're unconscious. And then like that, the person has no idea. He's under a spell. The conditioned soul is covered. He's convinced he's the body. And reality is his natural desires and the material objects, his material desires and the material objects he surrounds himself with. This is also called the fallible soldiers, where you're believing in something that's going to protect you, but it doesn't. This is especially happens in family life, because a man in family life is surrounded by his wife, his children, his pets, his grandchildren, his aunts, his uncles, his cousins. It's like a huge entourage that surrounds you. And you think, oh, I'm protected by them. I was at the hospital last year. A fellow I had worked with, Harry Vin, was East Indian. He was a cigarette smoker, and I had warned him prior to his lungs collapsing, Harry, you should stop smoking cigarettes. It's very bad for your health. He couldn't stop. And Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, eventually, I got word from his son-in-law that Harry had been taken to Jervaninsky Hospital on the mountain. So I went there. And he was in the basement of the hospital. It was a nice facility. I mean, I'm not saying, but it was right next to the morgue. In other words, they take people that are almost dead, they keep them in the basement. And I came into his room to see him. None of his family were there. Interesting. What about all those soldiers you have with you, Harry? Where were they when you were on your last moments? I brought the Gita with me, and I started to read to him, just like I had done that before with Vishnu Tattva. Myself and Jupiter went up to Sudbury, Ontario. We drove for 7 hours to get to the hospital. And we went in. He was on his deathbed. We read to him and actually revived him. And he got out of the hospital. And eventually he lived for another 6 months, and then he passed away. But with Harry, it didn't happen. He was there on a respirator. His eyes were like bugging out of his head. He was like completely petrified with the fear of death. Someone was saying, oh, I'm not afraid to die. Prabhupada, I just heard a lecture where Prabhupada said, everyone is afraid to die. Everyone is. Nobody thinks, oh, I'll be okay. No. When the angel of death shows up in front of you, you should be prepared to leave the body. And the only way to prepare is through Krishna consciousness. So anyway, Harry Vin's there. It's very interesting to note that there was the next door room. I still remember it vividly at the hospital. And there was an Italian gentleman passing away in the next room, some prolific businessman. And there was a crowd of people in the hallway, all weeping, crying. Oh my God. Our uncle, my dad, my granddad, he's dying. And he's in the room by himself. And all these people are out in the hallway, and the doctors and nurses are in the room. They're the only ones allowed in. And there they are weeping. How are they saving him? With their tears? Oh, I hope you don't die. This is reality. This is reality. You die on your own. That's reality. Don't think that anybody that's holding your hand is going to be able to help you. Yeah, they may help you by keeping you on the bodily platform of material existence while you're trying to focus your mind on Krishna. I finished with Harry. I read the Gita to him. I chanted for him. I chanted Hare Krishna in the room. I left. And 2 hours later, it was reported he passed from his body. Was anybody there for him? His family, his cousins, his wife, his son-in-law, No, nobody was there. This is the reality. These are the fallible soldiers. And we surround ourselves with these fallible soldiers thinking they'll help us. But in the end, God helps those who help themselves. That's the reality of this. The sleeping condition of the conditioned soul, the coma state of existence can only be eradicated through the medicine of the holy name of Krishna. That is the only solution. That's why every day, all of us chant 16 rounds a day. We chant every day. 27,500 names a day. 10,550,000 names a year, minimal. Because this is the medicine to cure us from this sleeping condition of life where we think we can be protected by the fallible soldiers that surround us, family, friends, money, all these mundane, illusory activities. And that's why Prabhupada always mentioned, as you said, that he concentrated on explaining to us, we're not the body. This is an illusion. It's a drama. I mentioned it this morning to a devotee I was preaching to. That you're on the stage of life here, my friend. It's like Shakespeare said, we're all actors here. We're in a drama. The only thing you take with you, Dave, that's what I told him. He's a friend of mine from the 60s. I chatted a few minutes with him. The only thing you take with you when you leave this world is your karma. Good or bad. And I told him this frankly. You're responsible for everything you do, and ignorance of the law is no excuse. So you can say, oh, I'm going to eat meat. I'm going to do this. I'm going to drink booze. I'm going to party on every day and think it's okay. But the fact of the matter is that is a sign of ignorance, stupidity. Prabhupada referred to these people as hogs and dogs. Oh, that's too harsh. How can you call a person a hog or a dog? Because they are. If you think they aren't, that's because you're asleep. Wake up. If you don't like it, go somewhere else. Go associate with the Christians. Go listen to them preach. Because Krishna consciousness is the truth, and there's nothing more invigorating than hear the truth, because the fact of the matter is, it's not negative, it's positive. The more you chant, the more you perform the Sankirtan Jaga of the holy name every day without offense, the more Krishna reveals to you what reality is. What reality really is for you. So many people, they get involved in all kinds of other people's business. That's their main business. Gossip, frivolous talk, prajalpa, fault finding, criticism. It's all part of the illusion of material life. And it's a reflection of their level of attitude towards the process of devotional service. That's their business. That's their business. That is not the business of our mission. Our mission is to promote Prabhupada as the true ambassador of this process of liberation from the material world through his blessed instructions and association. That is the joy of this process that we're experiencing together in these weekly classes. Yaśodā-nandana, please.
Well, this is a very important point that you brought up. Just like we see in the Shikshastakam of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu, there is description that this Cheto Darpana Marjanam, that this chanting of Hare Krishna mantra cleanses the heart from all the accumulated dust for millions of years. Bhava Mahadavagni Nirvapanam. This material world is like a great forest fire of anxiety, constant anxiety. And it can be only cleared up by the mercy of a pure devotee. Just like I posted here on the chat here, somebody was mentioning about the kirtan. Somebody was making a nice comment that when we hear the kirtan of Srila Prabhupada, that Prabhupada is directly present in his kirtan. The Bhakta Rupesh Chawan described, it feels like Prabhupada is physically present, leading kirtan in front of us. Well, this is a very nice feeling, but it's a fact. And that's why when you read that quote from Srimad Bhagavatam, I posted there, from Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 4, Chapter 20, Prabhupada is explaining the transcendental vibration from the mouth of a pure devotee is so powerful that it can revive the living entity's memory of his eternal relationship with the Supreme Personality of Godhead. In our material existence, under the influence of illusory Maya, we have almost forgotten our eternal relationship with the Lord, exactly like a man sleeping very deeply who forgets his duties. In the Vedas, it is said that every one of us is sleeping under the influence of Maya. We must get up from this slumber and engage in the right service, for thus we can properly utilize the facility of this human form of life. As expressed in a song by Thakur Bhaktivedanta, Lord Chaitanya said, Jiv Jago, Jiv Jago. The Lord asks every sleeping living entity to get up and engage in devotional service so that his mission in this human form of life may be fulfilled. This awakening voice comes through the mouth of a pure devotee. A pure devotee always engages in the service of the Lord, taking shelter of his lotus feet, and therefore he has a direct connection with these saffron mercy particles that are strewn over the lotus feet of the Lord. Although when a pure devotee speaks, the articulation of his voice may resemble the sound of this material sky, the voice is spiritually very powerful because it touches the particles of saffron dust on the lotus feet of the Lord. As soon as a sleeping living entity hears the powerful voice emanating from the mouth of a pure devotee, he immediately remembers his eternal relationship with the Lord, although up until that moment he had forgotten everything. So this is the power of hearing from a pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. It can give one the direct connection with Krishna. Very simple.
Yes, that's the fact. And, you know, we're very fortunate to have association of like-minded devotees in this group who firmly believe in the presence of Prabhupada in his Vani incarnation. We have Dharma Bhavana in Dallas, Texas, our god brother. I'd like him to share some realizations on today's class.
Hare Krishna, thank you. Yeah, our class today was a lot about really the basic principle of devotional service. How great Krishna is, how the important the holy name is, how important devotee association. And what we taught is that they have this inauguration of this new temple in India for Lord Ram. And I personally don't know how important that is, but somehow or another, people are talking about it all over the world. So we just thought we'd invite a few devotees over next Monday and have kirtan. So we're just using the whole situation, whatever it is a chance for a devotee association. And we were just contemplating how any excuse to get devotees together for chanting and talking about the glories of the holy name, reading for a Bhagavad-gītā, like we're doing in our Vaishnava Sangha here, Vaishnava Association, is a good thing. And I was thinking also when Prabhupada came to Dallas here, he was met at the airport in the airport reception area. Mm-hmm. And some of the reporters were kind of like many reporters back then. They were kind of trying to find something sensationalist and dramatic to report on. So one reporter said, "Why have you come here?" And Prabhupada answered, "Oh, I have come here to see my children." And whatever question they made, he would always make it kind of dramatic and pleasant and happy and just turn everything around positive. And he talked about how he had just come from San Diego, and in San Diego, they had so much discussion about crime. In the 1970s in America, a lot of people cannot understand now, there was just a lot of crime. It was really rampant. And he would explain how if people read our books, engage in the chanting of the holy name, the problem of crime will be, much, much less. So I just had those few things to add. Thank you, Haribo.
Okay, excellent. It's very valuable for our members to participate in Namhata programs that they conduct on their own, like Ram Chandra Singh in Sacramento is running programs there with the assistance of Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, and it's proving to be very positive. It's not necessarily a big show, but it starts. You have to start, and then you go from there, step by step. Whether you do programs or you cultivate people individually, work on that, everyone. Try to help other people. I see a very interesting question here, Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu, from a Prabhu in regards to his mother. I don't know. I think we could deal with it. I wanted to suggest first, before you do speak, Prabhu, it's great what you're doing. It's not a question of really convincing, but explaining. To try to convince somebody, it may be difficult, but if you explain something logically to people, then they'll be able to understand why they should take up the process according to how we're teaching it. And I'm recommending that you have your mother come to our classes for 6 months. That's on Wednesdays, Saturdays, and Sundays. And if they have any questions, they can certainly ask us at any time. Our group of our Brahminical Council is prepared to answer these questions and welcome her as a devotee of Prabhupada's, our disciplic succession, a disciple of him. Yaśodā, Prabhu, if you wanted to mention, and then I see we have our friend Nilesh with his hand up. Maybe he has a question too.
I'm going to make a brief comment on this issue that has been raised by Harish Prabhu. First of all, it's not a question of reinitiation. There's no such thing as reinitiation. It's just the proper bona fide initiation is the issue here. What we're facing is many persons who self-appointed themselves to the position of Acharya on a basis of misinterpretation and false propaganda of Prabhupada's instructions. They've assumed that position on the basis of a falsehood and a fabrication, and they've created massive confusion everywhere. That's the issue. So the question is not reinitiation, but the proper first initiation, according to the system prescribed, mandated, and ordered by Srila Prabhupada on July 9, 1977. Now, if somebody doesn't agree with that, I'll say, hey, take us on. Show us when these 11 were appointed or selected as initiating acharyas. When was that so-called appointment? Can anybody prove this? Specifically, I'm referring to the last few months of Prabhupada's manifested presence in 1977. When was this mysterious appointment? We never hear a conclusive evidence of this. As a matter of fact, in 1993 with Hamsadutta and some other devotees, we went to Vrindavan and we offered $108,000 US to anybody who could prove this. Nobody showed up. All the big Vapuvadis and living guru, breeding guru proponents, where were they? Come and pick up your money. They couldn't prove it because they know it's a hoax. It was admitted to be a myth by the founder of that system, Tamal Krishna Goswami, on December 3rd, 1980 in Topanga Canyon, California. He admitted that you cannot prove this. And they still insist 46 years later that this is what Prabhupada did. So nobody should be misled thinking they've received a bona fide initiation by people who self-appointed themselves to the position, who got an election, an elected vote from their institution. This is another nonsense. Anyway, we'll leave it at that for now. At some point, we're going to have a no-hold-barred personal discussion among some devotees, a roundtable type discussion where we can go into a lot of depth of what took place in 77, 78, and 79 so people can get a clear idea and a clear understanding on this issue. Thank you.
Actually, what we're doing, I just want to let everyone know, is we're going to have a series of special events that are going to be coming up within the next few weeks. Which will be a panel with Paranjana Prabhu, Janis Priya from Hawaii, Yasoda and myself,
and Bhakti-Ram.
And Bhakti-Ram, and we're going to discuss the whole issue of child abuse, of private bank accounts, the changing of the books, the changing of the deity worship system, the changing of the management system, which is Prabhupada's pastimes that have been misrepresented now to the current society in 2024. We're going to tell the truth, and we're not. These classes are not really meant for this type of discussion ongoing. I mean, they're topics we can talk about, and I know all of you are very interested in this. We do know that. People are constantly asking us. So we're going to create these special podcasts for you where we're going to tell the stories so that you get a real idea of what's gone down and everyone can understand it without any confusion, illusion, delusion. Nilesh, Dalal, in Miami, Florida, you lucky guy there. Nice and warm.
Hare Krishna, yes.
I'm freezing here.
No, it's very nice over here.
Yeah.
Hare Krishna,
Haribol.
Prabhuji. Two things I wanted to bring it to the point is, as Yasodā-nandana Prabhu was talking about listening to the bona fide spiritual master. We sing every morning in the Guru Puja, Divya Gyan Hriday Prakashito. This spiritual spark can be lit only in your hearts by a bona fide spiritual master. If you want this transcendental knowledge to be infused into your heart, which is where your soul is, and you want to really understand this, only a proper bona fide spiritual master would do that. And we sing this every single morning. And if we sing it without understanding, then it is shame on us. So we need to understand who is that real spiritual master. Who is that person who can give us that Divya Gyan, okay? That eternal transcendental knowledge. And the second part which I wanted to talk about is, it was very interesting that I was reading one of the books given to me by Madhva Prabhu, Srila Prabhupada's Hidden Glories. And in the foreword, Dhira Govindas Prabhu talks about one particular quote which really hit me between the eyes. And this, it all applies to us, especially those who are trying to convince others to follow Srila Prabhupada and only Srila Prabhupada. You don't need anybody else. And here is a quote which Dhir Govindas Prabhu says. Mark Twain says, "It is easier to fool someone than to convince them that they have been fooled." It is easier to fool someone than to convince someone that they are fooled. So especially the opposing camp, when we are trying to tell them, look, you need to follow Srila Prabhupada, they have been fooled by the fake gurus. But sometimes it is easier to fool them than to convince them that no, they are fooled by these fake gurus. So it is an uphill task for us, and we need to continue this work because it is an uphill task. And in this day and age of Kali Yuga, especially with intelligence so low amongst all of us, it becomes even a harder job. I wish what Yaśodā-nandana Prabhu has to say about it.
Mark Twain also one time said, "Tell me where a man gets his corn, and I will tell you where he gets his opinion." In other words, where to get their benefit, their money, their apartment, their salaries, whatever benefit they get, then you can understand where from they're getting their opinions. With regards to the first point you made, this is very important, and the answer is, it is Srila Prabhupada. And the point is, just like I was discussing with Bhakti Ram when we had the program in Sacramento, it's important to understand that Prabhupada was very practical. He was very practical. One time in 1977, there was discussion among some GBCs, and Prabhupada interrupted him and he says, "I am the practical man here." For anybody to suggest that Prabhupada would contradict himself, this is not very sound thinking. Prabhupada was very clear, very consistent, and very precise in the terminology that he used. And that is why devotees, that's like, because many times devotees have said, well, why do you spend so much time reading each and every word and each and every prayer? Because that is the system that Prabhupada recommended. That is what Prabhupada wanted for his followers and his students, to study methodically everything that he is given. And that purport from Srimad Bhagavatam that we read today, this is very important to make us understand the value of hearing from a completely perfect, pure devotee like Srila Prabhupada. And your point is very well taken, Nilesh Prabhu, about continuing to preach, to clear out the misunderstanding, to clear out the misconceptions. Very important point. I want to address, somebody asked a question here. They wanted to know what these books over here with the red spine, these books were given to me in 1976 in South India, in Hyderabad, Andhra Pradesh, India, by Mahamsa Swami. He's the one with Achyutananda Swami and my lowly self that we went all over to collect for the Radha Madan Mohan temple in Hyderabad. And after these ceremonies, Mahamsa Swami had received a translation of the commentaries in English on Bhagavad-gītā from Ramanuja, Madhva, and Shankaracharya of the first 6 chapters of Bhagavad-gītā, and he gave me that as a present. So I've read it once, and I don't specifically preach or quote from it, but it's a very valuable book, very valuable transcendental possession. Very nice, very nice.
Excellent. Okay, we're moving to 11:31 a.m. I wanted to mention this comment from Kanta. Very nice comment. Yes, it's easy to wake up a man who is strong asleep than to wake up a man who's pretending he is sleeping. So our suggestion for all of you is try to be cautious in dealing with these people who are asleep in the lap of the ISKCON gurus' propaganda. And it's getting worse by the day. We're monitoring it online. We're seeing some of our God brothers and how they're presenting the philosophy to others. One of them, a very prominent fellow out of Silicon Valley. He refers to Prabhupada as his teacher. My teacher told me this. My teacher told me. He leaves out Prabhupada's name when he speaks out of embarrassment or minimization. This is something he should be proud to speak. Just like on the temples. All the temples, Prabhupada wanted us, when we put the sign up in the front of the Toronto temple, we had to put the sign up, ISKCON Toronto International Founder-Ācārya, A.C. His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Prabhupāda. That was the rule. Wasn't an option. So these people that are asleep, we're finding out, Yaśodā, and Yaśoda's mentioned this to me on many occasions, it's more difficult to work with them than to work with new people who are genuinely interested in learning the truth without having this contamination that they've been infected with from their association with ISKCON. So 1 minute they're coming to our class, the next minute they're going and hanging out with their ISKCONites. And where do they get? Nowhere. What do you call it? The Samosa Lassi group? What's that? You show to your microphone. What do you call it?
They call it the Lassi and Samosa Sampradaya. They'll talk all day, Haribol, Haribol, how do you do? Everything nice. You start to bring up any kind of topic, serious topic. Oh, I don't have time. This is all politics. We can't discuss this. Oh, I see. You can't discuss something that's very important for the future of your own spiritual life in this movement because you're too busy swimming in your delusions. What is that? Why can't you take the time to discuss things? Because they don't want to wake up. Again, I've just put that quote here. Prabhupada is saying, the example may be given of a man who is sleeping. If he's actually sleeping, he may be wakened by various means, but there is no doubt that he must wake up. However, if a man is pretending to be asleep, there is no way at all to rouse him up. And this is the problem we're facing. We have a lot of people that have taken this whole guru business as a retirement project to take money from innocent people so they can retire comfortably in their jet-set lifestyle. They're not interested in preaching as it is to present Prabhupada as the Acharya of this movement. No. It is a money-making business, just like Sulochan describing, the guru business. Now, we have no interest in guru business to exploit people. Our only interest should be to present and give Prabhupada unadulterated, non-adulterated teachings. I see that Nilesh Prabhu also has his hands up for further comments. Yes, Prabhu.
Prabhuji, my only request is, now that I see that there are so many participants in this group from so many different parts of the world, we need to create a little database. So if anybody is traveling, anybody wants to associate with anybody on a one-to-one basis, so that these points which you and the other Prabhujis are trying to make constantly can be reinforced on a personal-to-personal basis.
Yes.
Okay, I just wanted to mention, we do have it, Nilesh, we have it in our agenda already. And they're in the process of being done. So in due course, this will all manifest. It's not just these classes. We have invitation cards. We have a database. We're looking for people to subscribe to the Hare Krishna Society YouTube page. And we're organizing events and festivals. If you have any suggestions, please call me. Just call me up. I work on this 7 days a week, 24 hours a day. So does Yaśodā. We're old enough that we're able to do this by Krishna's blessing. We have a newsletter now. We're going to be hopefully doing more in the near future as we get more people working with us cooperatively to help us to do this. This is not a one-man show. But anyway, we've been sick all week, so we'll have to leave it at that. Thank you, everyone. Thank you for your participation, your steady participation week after week. This is a sign of commitment and determination from all of you. And by the way, just reach out to us. You have our numbers. We have people that can pass the information to others. Yes, we are on this mission. And I wanted to conclude by bringing the chanting of Hare Krishna of Srila Prabhupada in the early days for our enjoyment and participation. And don't forget, tomorrow morning, Srimad Bhagavatam class, 10 a.m. Eastern Standard Time here in Canada and the US. Haribo.
Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Sivasadi Gaur Bhaktivedanta Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama
Vanchakalpa tarubhyascha kripa sindubhya evacha patitanam pavanebhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. Thanks everybody for participating.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna. Thanks Uma from Mongolia. Hare Krishna.